Last Sonic 1 sends in $2 and says, which is worse, DC now or Marvel? Marvel, because at least DC is trying to right the ship. We have yet to see. My only issue is just that James can't shut the fuck up and let things go until, we see the new movies and shows. Then we can judge them. He's kind of being James Mangold right now, and that's a problem. Because if James Mangold had kept his mouth shut, nobody would have even given him any ire over Indiana Jones.
James Mangold, who's working on a Star Wars movie right now, said 25,000 years before the events in A New Hope. Something that's never going to happen.
You're probably right.
I question if the Rey movie is going to happen.
The only reason I don't know about that is because it almost has to happen for KK and Bob's sake, and Filoni's behind it.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, Chris.
I'm with Tom, because I think, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like their last ditch, like face saving, kick at the goal. I don't think they can walk away from this one, because they would have then officially canceled more projects, and then they have directors, which I don't even know how that's possible.
It's all of that is such a mess for the purpose of a movie to make so that it's face saving for your career is irritating. You make a movie for an audience. You birth George Lucas, when you know anything about the making of the first Star Wars movie, he birthed that into existence. It was a movie that was in his head for a decade plus, because he loved the old Flash Gordon serials and couldn't get Flash Gordon made. So he lifted ideas from that and everything else that was around him, even Marvel Comics and Westerns and just everything, and just birthed Star Wars into existence because he wanted to see it. This isn't the Rey movie, especially with who is that activist director that they've got? It's a total activist director. Like,
I can't remember who it was. But
is she known for doing like great action scenes? No.
Documentaries, right?
Yeah, no, you mean like that Obeyed Chinoy woman, the WEF chill.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. How ridiculous.
But again, the whole project is ridiculous, and how it can happen, well, you answered it yourself, because of ego. It's really that simple, because Bob Iger, he can't just blame Kathleen Kennedy for Rey. He was guilty in that too, and he even wrote a book taking credit for it. Right. So it is not just her legacy on the line, it is his
That's
legacy
what I mean,
too.
yeah.
And he's very happy to burn even more shareholder money to try to fix his legacy by making Rey happen. Of course, if Rey was going to happen, she would have happened by now. That didn't happen, so it's not going to happen. But they can't admit that defeat. They have to burn some more shareholder money. So
it's like Batwoman.
Yeah. So the only way that that movie doesn't happen is if Nelson Peltz comes in and stops it, or the shareholders boot them all out or something, which they really should, because Team Iger is clearly not acting in the interests of the company or the shareholders. And as pointed out by Nelson Peltz, the shareholder, or the board, only owns $15 million worth of shares between them. Iger has sold out most of his belongings. So they clearly no longer believe that they can actually do this, because if they did, they would have had more shares. I mean, that alone is reason enough to kick the entire board.
Right.
Yeah. And just to kind of answer your other question, Chris, I think at this point, anybody who would have had any power that gave a shit about what the fans think, that went out. We clearly knew there was nobody there with any of that kind of power when Gina Carano was booted, basically. Well, not brought back, let's say.
What they did to her was disgusting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And
that was a message sent to the fans that were enjoying what was going on.
I mean, what they did to her was disgusting because of the double standard. And I don't know. Just, you know what? Disney sounds like an absolutely miserable company to work for, with an environment of bullying where people who work there actually enjoy being a-holes. This is what I keep hearing over and over again. And I don't know.
We have you to thank for that, Chris, as we were saying, because Andre said this the other day. Basically, you put out there what we have been trying to tell people all this time. There has been a war going on inside Disney, a culture war.
But it's a
And
war's lost. Let me
it
just
is lost. That's what we've been
That's
saying.
what
Yeah,
we've
it
been
is.
saying too.
lost.
The war was fought. We covered it while it was fought, but it has been lost.
Correct. Lost completely. So
And the
yeah.
only hope right now is basically that it's Nelson Peltz. That's the hope right now. That he can come in and he can fire the victors. That he can basically come in and depose the victorious side. Because in Disney, evil won.
Because otherwise, you know what? Good. It's dead. Because guess what? That means they killed it, Chris. And it's on them. The blood is on their hands, not ours. We warned them. We've warned them for years this is what was going to happen. When they did good, we told them they were doing good with The Mandalorian. When they have done good with Marvel, we have told them they've done good with Marvel. Same thing with some of the animated films and stuff for the guys who cover that, like Culture and Pro and all those guys. But guess what? Those are so far and few between anymore that and you said it yourself, Chris, the number one question at that Wish thing was, is it safe for families? Can I take kids to this? The other, is it okay for an 8-year-old? Is it okay for a 5-year-old? What about 12-year-old? Like, that's the thing. If parents are asking these questions about a fucking Disney movie, then we got a problem here. Because as you said earlier, the other point was, yes, you're right. For a while, Disney-fied has now become an actual word in our vernacular. Why? Because there was a time when something would become so saccharine and so family friendly that you're like, oh God, they fucking Disney-fied it. Whether Disney made it or not, it didn't matter, right? When they would take an R-rated franchise and turn it into a PG or PG-13 franchise, that was the term we would use. Because as you said, that was like a kiss of death for something. And when it came to something that was cool anyway.
Prior to that, Tom, I would say we called it Capra-esque for a while.
Oh,
yeah, but that was actually a better term, though. That wasn't a negative connotation. Disney-fied had a negative connotation as to going along with what Chris was saying. But I mean, maybe not. At least I don't take it that way with Capra.
Right. I mean, a lot of people thought that Capra was, in his time, was too optimistic and positive, and his messages were too, saccharine, as you mentioned. So,
fair enough.
I don't know. I think there's a time and a place for all of that, and I think Disney did very well with it for a while. But I agree with you; things did eventually make that a negative connotation. So,
yeah, because you wouldn't want your franchise to get Disney-fied, right? Like that was a bad thing to happen. But as far as which one is worse right now, DC or Marvel, I'd say Marvel. I don't know what you guys disagree on that. We went in a long venture for a $2 super chat.
I 100% agree with you, Tom. It's Marvel's in a worse place because they've lost the audience. DC, I kind of feel like people understand this Aquaman thing is not part of the vision going forward. If we see a trailer, say at San Diego Comic-Con, and we get a leak, and James has been doing this. He's leaking little teases of things. And if we see like, the new Superman in the suit with the red, underwear, whatever, the red shorts, it's, I don't know. I think people could get excited if we, you need a really good trailer for this to bring audiences back. I think a hopeful Superman movie is something that we all need.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.